All right. Hi, Lisa Murray. Welcome to this chat that we're going to be having
Hi.
today. Um, and we are going to be talking to you all who are watching this now and in the future, about the class that Lisa is going to be coming to do in London. But specifically, we're going to be talking about kind of creating a difference. Is that what we call it? So, yeah, making a difference every day in your life. So, that's just such a huge thing for so many people, Lisa. I know for myself, when I look at the difference that I would like to create in the world, sometimes for me it's just so massive and overwhelming, I don't know where to start. So I kind of almost give up before I get into it. So how is this class going to help help me get over that?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. And here's the thing, because most people do make this thing of making a difference in the world into this really huge thing that, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. And it's almost like one of the reasons why I wanted to create these classes around creating a greater future, because it's literally like if you start with the tiniest thing that's in front of you, then and be creative in the way you actually go about that. So, for example, if you're on social media, it might be encouraging a couple of people. If you're working with a group of people, like for me, one of my things that I really love talking about in the world is like transforming work into play. Because I really think that all work should be as much fun as play is, right?
Hmm.
And so when I'm creating with people, that's the energy I'm being, and that's the energy I'm constantly showing them and the adventure I'm taking them on so that they can actually have the experience of that. And everyone who works with me goes, oh, wow, you can do it like that. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And it changes something in their world. And so, what I really want to play with in these classes is getting really creative with all of the different ways that you can make a difference in every tiny choice that you make, that actually then allows little ripples to go out through the entire world. And you end up with this thing where everyone starts to realize, oh, there's a different thing that's possible here. And it grows and it grows. And as it gets more energy, all of a sudden you end up in this space where a lot of people get that and it becomes normal. And this is the really weird thing, right? Because we think we're not making a difference, but then one day you look back from 5 years ago and you go, oh, that thing that was so out there 5 years ago, it's normal now. And so you've made a difference. And yeah, so what it's really around that, like that's the thing I'd love to play with people, is looking at all of the tiny ways that you start making a difference and creating this future that you would like to have. Because all of us know what kind of world we would like to live in. Even if we think it's impossible, we do actually know what sort of world it would be that we would love to live in.
I really get that. And what I'm also aware of as well is where we're already making a difference, but we've never acknowledged it because it's just so simple.
Yeah.
Like we'll make a comment on a Facebook post or somewhere else in social media that you just see it light someone's world up and it sparks them to go and do something. And but often, I find that because it's so easy and so simple for me, I just discard it. And how much do we do that? So
Yeah. So there's one
when,
thing actually with that I
mm,
want to talk about because, yeah, the acknowledgement is key. There's no doubt about that. And, one of the most fun things to go is, okay, universe, show me where I make a difference. And it does, it
right.
will show you. And that's just a really fun way to play with it, right? And here's the other thing is what I notice is a lot of people want to give up just when they're on the edge of truly creating something amazing. And so part of this thing of creating a greater future and making a difference in the world is never giving up, is actually backing yourself day in, day out. Even when it looks like on the surface that nothing is showing up, there's this thing where literally you can, it's like the moment you decide it's not showing up, it stops showing up, right? Whereas if you just look at the energy and go, okay, so what else can I be and do with this that I don't even know yet? And so you take yourself on an adventure, whether other people react or respond to it or not. You take yourself on this adventure. And this is the energy of creating a greater future, right? It's literally what adventure can you go on, or me, I go on, whoever, that allows something different to come into the world. Because so often we're looking for the immediate outcome. And sometimes it comes and other times it doesn't. And what I've discovered for myself is that if I stop looking for that immediate outcome, but I literally look for every tiny adventure that I can have, then there's this magic that shows up that just, just it's like a snowball, it just gets more and more and more and bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden you've got this thing where you're just going, oh, wow, look at that. I never imagined that could show up. And so this is the kind of energy that we want to set, into beginning, into starting in these classes.
What I get with this kind of making a difference every day is there's so much stuff trying to stop the words from coming out. It's like, where are we trying to change people rather than being an invitation to something different? Because, and it's like we see people around us choosing some stuff that you get the awareness that it's perhaps not going to contribute the best to them, but we almost be these superior people trying to tell them what they should be doing. And that can be that, and then we just give up. I can't change it, I might as well just give up.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting that you've raised this, because I used to be a change manager in corporate, right? And because I loved change and I just thought it was a great big fat adventure. And most people were like, they do not like change like I like change. And it was really interesting for me to watch all of that and to see how much resistance and reaction people had just because it was change. And I realized very early on that I was not going to allow myself to be stopped by their reaction. And also I wasn't going to try and force people, and it's really interesting because there are so many things where we can see a greater possibility for the people around us. And the funny thing is they can probably see it for us too. And that's the joy of actually coming to a class and interacting with other people. It's like sort of uncovering and unhiding those greater possibilities and looking at what they could be without actually having to change anything, And it's funny because if you make change a must do, where you should do it, and, it's like, well, the energy gets all clunky, right? And this is why a lot of change management doesn't work in corporate environments. And yet, if you make change something that's an adventure and that's fun and that's playful, then it's like, oh, wow, what else is there? Totally different energy. And you're totally right about it being, what you are being is the invitation to what people can choose. Because what I've noticed over these last few years is people won't choose something unless they see someone else choosing it first. And really this whole topic of, making a difference every day comes back to being a leader. It comes back to being willing to choose first, being willing to be the one who's a little bit different, who says, hey, what about this? I can see a possibility here. And not come and play with me, but more like, hey, do you want to play? Like, what could that lead to? So totally different energies. And we're going to play a lot with this. And, they will be playful classes because I'm playful. And it's like, what if you could create the change you would like to create in the world in a totally different way to what you've been trying to? Because for most people, the way they go about it is this very direct, I'm going to pull you along and no matter what, you have to come with me. And what that creates is resistance, right? And of course, it's the same for yourself. If you're trying to get yourself to go somewhere and you set a goal and you're very serious about it, what's it create? Resistance. And so literally what we're going to play with is all the ways you can create that invitation and create that change through being and playing and creating in totally different ways to what people expect. Because when you give them something unexpected, then they're like curious, like, oh, what's that? Whereas if you give them something that's really predictable or you're lecturing them, like one of my relatives, I'm not going to name them in case they watch this ever, but they love to tell me what I should do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's got nothing to do with my life. Nothing. And like, for me, it's like, well, thanks for the information. And I just keep doing what I'm doing because I know where I'm going and I know what I would like to create in the world. And I know that I won't get there by doing what they're saying. Yeah. And so it's this thing where we need to be an invitation. Now, they still keep talking to me all the time because they're really curious about how I've got what I've got, but they don't actually want to do what I'm doing or be what I'm being. And that's okay. I've got no vested interest in having them change. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm here if you want something, you know? And so this is the joy actually of making a difference, because you don't have to get to an outcome with the other person. You just have to show up.
And that's it, isn't it? It's that willingness to show up and just be you without apology, without kind of self-judgment.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really draws me to your work, Lisa, and the way you create, is because it is just so freaking pragmatic.
Yeah.
As well as being fun. This whole the kind of the alchemy lab and all of that stuff that you've been creating is just so awesome. And I get there's two things kind of popping in my head. First of all, one of them is this class is going to be really pragmatic as well as fun.
Yeah.
Secondly, how many? So do you want to talk to that?
I do want to talk to that actually, because people think that creating their future, like, it's so intangible that it can't be pragmatic. And
right.
Every choice that we make now is what creates that future. Like, every single choice creates our future. And so it will be really pragmatic in terms of looking at, well, what choices are you making in the moments of your day that are actually creating the future or not that you would like to create? And we're going to look at those things around, well, what kind of future would you like to create? And are you clear about it? Because one thing that's interesting for me is, like, with the thing of like transforming your work into play. Now, that has been a theme that has gone round and round and round in my world almost for my entire life. And when I look at it now, I'm like, oh, it was like this big, bright, shining thing that had a cloud over the top of it that I couldn't see. And now the cloud's gone. I'm like, oh, that thing, that's what I'd really like to create so much with people. And the pragmatics is where you start to take off those layers and find that thing and then look at, well, how else you can put it into the world. So, yeah. And it will be a really practical class, like both of them, both the taster and the 2-day class. They're going to be full of, not necessarily, well, it can be taking action, but it also will be really looking at the creative aspects of how you might bring this to the world that will allow the world to sit up and take notice of you.
Yeah, it's the fun, the energy, and doing the pragmatic stuff.
It's both. It really is both. Yeah.
So one, I know we're coming to the end, but one final thing I just wanted to quickly pick up on is, what about those people who are so aware of how much will change in their life from this class that they're almost kind of resisting it because they know it will create change with them and support them in creating that change? Because I can almost feel that myself. It's almost palpable.
Yeah, well, stuff does change when you come to my classes. Just by showing up, whether you do anything or not.
Just hosting is changing enough.
And so what I'm going to say is, what if this is the change you've been asking for? That's really what I'm going to say to you. Because, like, if there is like any pull to make a difference in the world, like, there are literally thousands of ways to do that. You don't have to go and start a charity in Africa. There's like, there is literally probably millions of ways to make a difference in the world, actually. And what I'm going to say to you is, like, just look at your life, 10 years from now, if you do come to the class and if you don't come to the class. Because what my sense of it is it may feel a little uncomfortable, but the weird thing is, I actually feel like these classes are going to make you more comfortable in your life. And I know that sounds really weird, because I was just looking at the end and you go, oh, that's such a strange thing. Because mostly you go through this period of uncomfortable. But what I get is that if you start making a difference in the ways that you can, and like each of us has totally different ways of that, then it actually creates more comfort. And I know that sounds strange, but I look at my own life, and the more I've moved into that energy with people of transforming their work into play and allowing them to have this real delight in their work, my life actually has been getting easier and easier and easier. And my work has also been getting easier. And that's despite having a really full schedule and a lot of craziness going on. It's literally like there's this ease that comes with it, because you're actually kind of just allowing yourself to melt into this space that is your space in the world, that is actually where you can create from with a lot of ease. So I know that sounds like a really weird answer to a question, but that's the energy that's there. So
I get that, because also as you were talking, what immediately when you were talking about actually it gets more comfortable is where have we um, completely misidentified comfort with discomfort and vice versa. So what we think is comfort, and or discomfort is actually comfort, and we just completely got it round in our heads that we never choose it.
Yeah. Well, we tend, we tend to go like to the conclusions of the future rather than the possibilities of the future. And then we look at the conclusions of the future. And, and I'll give you a good example of this actually, because I think it's useful for people. So years and years and years ago, I went to this meditation class and I very clearly saw a possible future for me. And it was speaking in front of thousands and thousands of people, and freak out didn't cover it. I literally just about had a meltdown. I was like, I'm not doing, the energy was just no, right, in my world. But the interesting thing about that was it then sent me into this sort of question, because I was like, well, if I didn't refuse that future, like if I just allowed that future to be one possible future, what would have to be different in my world? What would have to change? And it sent me on a really amazing adventure, actually, in terms of being willing to unhide myself in the world. And I'm so grateful for that, because without that moment, I might never have chosen a lot of the things I've chosen in the last few years. And I would not be coming to London, for example. So many different things wouldn't be showing up in my world. And so I think that a moment of discomfort while you go through that phase where you're like, oh my gosh, is much better than a lifetime of discomfort, because you're not being and doing and creating what you could be. And that's what most of us actually have, is a lifetime of discomfort where we're not making the difference we could, where we're not creating the futures we could because of some momentary part of discomfort. Does that make sense? I don't even know if it makes sense. It's like
sense. It's like I'm going to continue wearing the shoe that doesn't fit.
Yes,
that's really
exactly
painful.
That's exactly it. Yes, rather than going, hey, I'm just going to go and buy a sexy new pair of shoes, that actually would allow me to go everywhere I'd like to go. Perfect analogy. Thank you very much. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Great way to end, I think, as well.
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to say to everyone who's watching?
Oh, just that if this has any sort of little twinklings in your universe, if there's any little part of it where you go, oh, I wonder what that's like, please do come join us for the taster class. We are going to have a lot of fun with that class and a lot of creative adventures in terms of how we can look at the things we'd like to change and actually make them fun and playful and joyful. And, it doesn't have to be about business. It can be any part of your life. So, yeah, I would just say come play. And I really look forward to meeting you in London really soon.
Yes, indeed. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you.
We will.
Bye-bye.
We should tell people where they can find out about this class, maybe.
If they can.
Yes.
Have you got it there handy?
I can do it, yes. We're so cute. It's just like, yeah, we had the fun conversation, but don't come because we won't tell you where it is. No. So it's going to be in London on the 6th of June, the taster class, and then on the 7th and the 8th is the 2-day classes. And we are going to, you can find out more at www.creativitylab.tv/London. Or if you want to see all the Europe classes, you can go to www.creativity. Oh my God, I can't talk. It's like I've lost my speaking voice. creativitylabeurope.com. Or you can just talk to Alan or me and we'll find you the links. Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks so much for the chat. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.